Well, happy Tuesday, family. Today is a little bit today is a little bit heavy. My thoughts and prayers are definitely with the families at Uvalde, Texas, due to the mass shooting that occurred at a elementary school, Robb Elementary School. And I'm an empath, and anything that has to do with our kids and our babies really does hit home for me in a way that's really heavy. So I'm sincerely sending my prayers to the families who were impacted by today's shooting and the staff and just the community in general. I think we underestimate what tragedy does to our emotional wellness, um, even if you didn't personally have a relationship with the individual and or the children or the community. And so while I didn't want to change tonight's topic, I did want to take the time to kind of give two tips. If you have a young child or if you have someone who is considered an adolescent, two things I want you to consider when approaching the conversation about very sensitive topics like what occurred today in Texas. One is that if they're really young, they don't have to know all of the details. While they might ask questions, if you one way you can shift the conversation is to get them to talk about how they feel, and keeping it very brief, not exposing so much of the details to overwhelm them and to make them afraid. And so a one liner, if you want to talk about, well, I would suggest that you talk about it because they're going to hear about it, and so it should come from you. But keep it brief if they're young, and then if they're older and they have the capacity, the emotional capacity to express feelings and to formalize their own thoughts, guiding the conversation on how it makes them feel, and talking about mental health and the impact of um, maybe the impact of having an unso healthy mental health, and then what they can do to maintain their health and to remind them that they're loved by you and by their family members. And so I wanted to take a moment while that was not on today's agenda. I wanted to take a moment to acknowledge that because we are dealing with these are some very tragic times. And as quickly as information passes in our society, if our kids are going to get the information, it should come from us. And so I invite you to have that conversation with them today. Today, we're going to talk about key skills every summer internship should include. And if you are preparing to hire an entry level employee, or a intern, if you're planning to coordinate an internship for a high school or college student, I want to talk about some few things that I would urge you to embed in your training curriculum. And that's just fancy of saying how you plan to onboard them, like the structural or the key maybe pillars, um, and like standards that you like to set in place as you began to essentially like jumpstart their professional pathway. And so when we return from today's introduction, we'll jump right in. You are excellence. Your mind is of excellence. Your visions are of excellence. Your unique superpower is nothing short of excellence. You amplify a voice of excellence. Your contribution to this world will be of excellence. You will achieve your highest goals and desires with excellence. You are capable of excellence. You have an inner power of excellence. You will achieve excellence in everything, every time. So, for those of you who are joining for the first time, I'm Linnita Hosten, and I'm founder of Excellence Brainery, where we coach high school students to devise a post graduation plan to guide them in identifying and going after their dream career. And if you're watching today live, let me know that you're here typing in the chat, hey, I am here. If your heart is heavy, drop an emoji to express how you're feeling, but let us just know that you're watching live. I am watching the comments. We are streaming on Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. So let me know that you are visiting. And if you happen to catch the replay, you can go and type in hashtag replay when you catch the replay at that time. Also, you're welcome to subscribe. You can hit the bell or the subscribe button to be notified every time I go live, and so that you won't miss a video. And we are live every Tuesday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Even if I'm on travel, I will always have something for you, and if not, you definitely will be notified. And I wanted to add this in here before we jump into today's topic. There are three ways, if you've ever watched any of my content and you say, wow, I enjoy the information, it's insightful. I would like to know, like, how can I work with Linnita? Three ways I want to share with you. One, most people don't know this, but we can partner to create a custom curriculum for your existing organization. So we've actually done this before. And this just looks like perhaps you are creating a training program, modifying an existing training program, and are in dire need of some type of structural training for your teens and or young adults in any kind of capacity, internship, coordination. If you are a part of a youth advocacy group, if you are supporting this demographic in any way, we can definitely partner to do that. The second way we can work together, we can partner to do a short or long term programming or training series, which means that for an extended period of time, we can identify target areas that you would like to develop in your existing cohort of teens and or young adults. That can be from personal development to career development, it could be from mental wellness to goal setting. It just depends. We can talk about the menu of services that we do provide, but that's the second way. And then the third way we can work together is you can purchase a bulk order of our learning materials, one being my latest book, The Pursuit of Black Excellence for Teens. In exchange for that, I can come and do a keynote or a program for free just by you purchasing a bulk order of those materials. So if you were ever thinking about ways in which we can work together, or you like the content, you want to figure out how to infuse it in the work that you're currently doing, these are three ways. The most common way that most people invite me in to work with them is that they invite me in to speak. And the invitation is also encouraged for you to do that too, if you'd like. So today's episode is sponsored by Excellence Brainery, again, which is a program that partners with families and parents and community organizations to help high school students devise a PPP, post-graduation plan. And Excellence Brainery does that by way of workshops, group coaching, and then the learning materials. And so we're super excited that we were able to be sponsored by Excellence Brainery today. So this week's topic, key skills every summer internship must include. And I think the word there that I want us to focus on is must include. You could have an internship experience and it could be, it should be relative to like your end goal. I always advise students that what you're utilizing your time doing is what you're growing in. Where you expend your time is an indication of what you're learning, what matters to you, and like the area that you are expanding in knowledge. So if you do a lot of high task oriented, very strategic, valuable activities, it is likely that you're growing in that area. While If you are accustomed to doing maybe not as much volume and structured activities, maybe you have a lot more free time. Maybe that free time is unstructured. That's an indication of what you're learning. And so every summer, I advise students that you should always be doing something that's relative to whatever that end goal is for you. If that is to open up a barbershop, to start a restaurant, to do that food truck, to release the line of shoes, every summer you should be actively engaged in developing skill sets that will get you closer to that goal. Summer is a unique time because likely there aren't very many competing priorities for a student to focus in on. So it's a prime time for them to develop those skills. And so if you are an employer and you're watching today, or an internship coordinator, or you are working with a student and or young adult or rising professional, and you anticipate welcoming them into your organization, I want to give you three things to consider as you are inviting them in. And again, this is not to adjust what you have planned for them, but just to get you consciously thinking about ways that you can help groom them. Because here's the thing, if you think about it, you have a an amazing opportunity to groom someone from the very beginning. A person's very first few work experiences really define, help to groom whom they are. It's a powerful place. It's To me, it's equivalent to it's equivalent to the first person that you date. They are literally grooming your perception and fears of love, your capacity to love if it's healthy, your understanding of love. It's a powerful onset to start life. I think the same thing about your first job. And so it's a privilege to do so, to have or to help someone jumpstart their career. And I just wanted to give you some three things I want you to think about. Hey, blind guy and his wife. He says the end goal is to have a curated skill set. Absolutely. And one that will be memorable. I want to share this story really quickly. My first job, well, I had, my first job was at Starbucks. And our store manager, her name was Amanda Brown. She was exceptional. When I think about her leadership abilities then, it was incredible. We were the top performing sales store. She urged us to memorize our customers' names and orders. We were so proficient. I have not yet seen a Starbucks do this. We were so proficient that when our line would get long, we would take the orders while people were standing in line. So no one was waiting for the orders to be given when you get to the bar. They were coming out like this. We had like an assembly line. And I have yet to see a Starbucks do that. But Amanda was forward thinking. She was thinking about the customer experience. And our tips were crazy. We were getting, one guy even dropped a $100 bill in on Christmas. I remember that. But they were very appreciative at the level of detail that we served them with. That was my first work experience. So I learned, or I might have absorbed, not might have, I know I absorbed a lot of Amanda's traits when it was time for me to lead. And so, again, the whole point I was trying to make is that your first work experience can be powerful, and you, as the person orchestrating that opportunity for an individual, can be powerful. Three things I want you to think about. The first one is, I want you to be intentional about teaching them to advocate for themselves, not for you, for themselves. Self advocacy is the ability to express like what matters to you, what's important to you. The reason why I think employers who are hiring um, entry level or rising professionals, the reason why I think this is important to teach is because relationship is what gets to sustainability and longevity. If you really want to groom someone without the fear that they would leave, then how you're building their character matters. So asking them or sharing with them, hey, I value your opinion. If it's something that you can do, if it's something that you're not comfortable doing, tell me. I have no judgment. My only goal is that you will leave better than how you came. That's you creating a safe space for them to be vulnerable in the things that they may not have understanding in. And prayerfully, you are well equipped to handle their vulnerabilities. But what we don't want is for them not to have a space to express what they're not comfortable in doing, and then they're not delivering, then your expectations are not met. That's an easy way for silly conflict, is what I call it. And that's when your expectations are not in line with what was communicated. An easy way to to just bypass all of that is to establish a space of self advocacy. I value how you feel. I value your opinion. I value your honesty. Always share how you feel. One way to practice this too is whenever you're meeting, the first objective could be checking in. Give me three words to describe how you're feeling today and why. Before you jump into like the weeds and the like task for the day. It's humanizing relationship building in the workplace. A great tool to teach. Mind you, what you are modeling, you are teaching. And so Gen Z will be the largest generation in the workforce come 2030. We are grooming them. And you'd be surprised, in some cases, they may be soon leading us. So a great way to nurture them is to teaching them these skills early. Um, Purcell's protection plan says professionals know what to do next. Yeah, they do. They do. But and these likely that the talent that I'm referring to for today's content are people who are new to work. They are maybe not having much work experience, and or they are enrolled in some type of full-time education plan, and you are utilizing their summer months to groom them. That's the target that we're talking about today. So advocacy is definitely a key skill that I feel like should be embedded in the training and the onboarding process for you and that new hire this summer. The second one is organization. Now, if you don't have the skill of organization, this is going to be difficult to teach. But one of the things that I realized that I had to like reverse engineer and start to teach my students is like how to organize their time and tasks. So the crazy thing is, if you are the professional and you are leading an entry level or rising professional, what is natural to you or instinctual at this phase in your career is completely new to an intern, likely. So while it may seem simple that a person could prioritize their task based off of urgency and due date, that just seems like common sense. Remember, you're working with someone who may have limited or no experience. So these are very basic skills that you would have to communicate. So teaching organization when you're onboarding, well, not exactly at the onboarding, but when you are delegating tasks, might look like, I'm gonna give you a list of things that I would really like you to focus on, and they start taking notes. And after you've gone through each of the tasks in detail, then you say, let's prioritize that list based on due date. So you kind of like have to teach them and share at the same time. You might say, the second task is most priority. I want you to focus on that. I need that by. When you give clear instructions, you empower the person to meet your expectations. So the organization of the task is one way you can teach organization. Blind guy, his wife, and their life says organization was way more difficult to convey when when I wasn't organized myself. Oh my gosh. The more responsibility I received, the harder it was to be organized. It's easy to be organized when you aren't juggling much, but when you start adding on various kinds of responsibilities, deadlines, and then you work with different kinds of audiences and stakeholders, and you're managing a project timeline from start to finish, it gets a little intense. So the quicker you can teach these skills, I think is best to empower them. So teaching them to prioritize their tasks. The other thing is teaching them to organize their time. We cannot, I said this in my master class 2 weeks ago, we cannot manage time. Time is an indefinite continued existence. We can't stop it. We can't erase it. We can't rewind it. We can only like organize the time that we have. So teaching how to looking a bird's eye view of the week. Now this is very advanced because I don't know if most adults who are senior level in the workplace, I don't know if they do this, but teaching them to have a bird's eye view of their week and then prioritizing how to expend energy based off of the existing priorities already embedded in their time commitments. So if they already have meetings heavy on Wednesday, heavy on Friday, if they already have a training that they have to do, it takes 3 hours. Like teaching them to look at the week and then assess when is going to be the ideal time to focus in on key projects. That's teaching them to organize time. Again, this does take a lot of time. I want to pause and honor that. It's a lot to onboard an entry level, new level, a senior level. Whenever you're adding someone to your midst of like performance or production, it's going to be time consuming, even if they're skilled, because a good person is going to have a lot of good questions, and that takes time to do that knowledge transfer. I urge you to be patient, because if you're efficient at the onboarding, the level of value you'll get out of that person is invaluable. And that's what you want. You want the exchange of time that you've invested in them and the exchange in time that they're giving you to be valuable. That's a win win of an internship. And so, teaching them to organize their time and then prioritize their tasks are two great organizational skills to teach. So, that's the second one. The third one that I feel like, and this one is a little softer, but teaching them to be curious, encouraging their curiosity. And that looks like inviting them to ask questions. I don't know. It behooves me. My mom uses that word all the time, so I just had to add it in there. It behooves me when I am talking to someone. I know I'm communicating something that may be complex. It might be very heavy, maybe very like technical. And I finish and they don't have any questions. It's no way. At the very minimum, the first question should be, do you mind if I repeat back to you what I think I heard you say? Or do you mind if I recount or recall what we just talked about, so I make sure I'm not missing anything? We have to teach them that. Remember, you're working with someone who has likely no or very little experience. So while these might be things that are natural, instinctual for you as a more seasoned professional, when you have the privilege of working with, when grooming a babe like professional, these are things that we have to teach. So at the onboarding, a part of your remarks or training materials, you might say, I invite your curiosity. I want you to be so curious that you always have a question for me about everything. Ask a question about everything. Question everything. You want the invitation to be so clear that you want them to always be critically thinking about the information that you are doing a knowledge transfer about. So the curiosity is a headache. I will admit that it is, and a headache that you have to manage, but it's one that you are actually like teaching them to like verbalize their thoughts comfortably, and then also to always be critically thinking. So asking questions is a great way to stay engaged too, because you really can't ask questions about something that you are not following. And when a person doesn't have any questions, the first thing I'm thinking about is, are they listening? And so asking, that curiosity piece is huge. So those are like the three key traits that I really invite individuals who are onboarding an intern this summer or onboarding a rising or new professional to your workplace. I want you to think about how you are going to teach self-advocacy, the organization skills that we talked about, and then finally, how are you going to invite their curiosity to where you are? Again, it is a privilege to be a part of the beginning process, the nurturing process, the grooming process of anyone. I always said, when I travel the country and I meet thousands of rising professionals, is what I call them. You may call them youth, you may call them young adults. I never know where life may take them. And while I only have about 60 to 90 minutes with them, if it touches them in a way and they remember me years from now, maybe they apply what I've learned and they come back and say, like, hey, I remember when and I did such, that's an amazing feeling. But imagine how much more powerful it would be for someone to have worked under your arm or under your leadership for 2 to 3 months or even a whole summer, and they took away some very keen, solid, valuable professional and personal skills that they never forget. Just imagine how honorable it would be for them to recount you in their personal stories and anecdotes, and maybe in their own organization one day. So, what we are modeling, we are teaching. When we model these traits in the workplace, we are teaching and inviting our rising professionals who may one day lead us to honor personal differences, to honor individuality, and to show up their whole self. And who wouldn't want an individual to do that? Because I certainly want that. Again, I wanted to share this. If you would like to work together, let's say you love the content that we provide every Tuesday at 8:30 on Everything Excellence and Everything Live, and you were just curious, like, what other ways could I work with Linnita? One, and I mentioned this earlier today, we do write custom curriculums for college and career programs for youth and young adults. So that's one way. We can also partner with a short or long term training program for your existing population that could look like soft skills development. Soft skills are like managing conflict, presenting or presentation skills. Another soft skill might be managing your emotions. So it just depends on what your needs are. We can tailor a program to your needs. And then finally, you can purchase a bulk order of any of our learning materials. And in exchange for that, I will come and do a free keynote or training for your organization. Those are three ways in which we can partner together, just in case you were very curious. And to get started, you can go to linnitahosten.com/connect, and you can submit your organization information there. And then someone from my team will reach out to you to follow up with next steps, just in case you wanted to know. Again, super, 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 super heavy regarding the loss of the teacher and the 18 elementary school kids who were killed today in Texas, Uvalde, Texas. And I send my sincerest prayers for their families and loved ones. And definitely will be in prayer for that community. It's definitely a tough time. Don't forget to check in on your child. Doesn't matter how old they are, but you want to be the person who communicates these things, not news from their mobile device or a text message from a friend. You want to be the primary communicator of these things and how it may impact them. So I invite you to have a conversation with them tonight. And if it's heavy for you and you're not in a position to talk about it, perhaps it's a great time to express your love and appreciation for them, no matter how they might have behaved today. But to hug on them and love them, because as we've seen today, life is so precious. So, so precious. Thank you, Blind Guy, his wife, and their life. He says presentation skills are always in need from all ages. They are. Presentation skills are exactly their interview skills too. So it's transferable, and we're always giving presentations when we're dating, even when we're married, expressing our feelings. Sometimes, heck, that's a presentation right there. But also when we're interviewing for promotions and activities, if you have a chance to do any media interviews, that's a presentation too. So you're right. At every stage of life, we will be presenting. It's powerful skills to have. All right, family, that is all I have for tonight. I love you. Thanks for tuning in to this week's Excellence in Everything Live. I'll see you next Tuesday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. I love you. There is nothing you can do about it. And don't forget to hug your loved ones tonight. Bye. You are excellence. Your mind is of excellence. Your visions are of excellence. Your unique superpower is nothing short of excellence. You amplify a voice of excellence. Your contribution to this world will be of excellence. You will achieve your highest goals and desires with excellence. Excellence in everything.